For Great Decisions 85, I'm Edwin Newman.
Great Decisions 85 is a series of nonpartisan programs examining current foreign policy issues. Thousands of Americans from all walks of life are meeting in communities across the nation to discuss these issues and arrive at their own opinions. For information on how you can order the 1985 briefing book and take part in discussion groups in your community, and how you can obtain video cassette and audio cassette copies of these programs, contact the Foreign Policy Association, 205 Lexington Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. Telephone area code 212-481-8450.
Agronsky and Company discuss the news of the week next. Stay with us.
American Playhouse presents Some Men Need Help. A young advertising executive on his way to the top of the world finds himself losing all he has earned. He has become an alcoholic. He has lost control until an elderly neighbor commits his own life to save a struggling soul. Philip Bosco and Treat Williams star in this tremendously moving and thought-provoking drama. Some Men Need Help on American Playhouse.
A dramatic treat. Join us.
Sunday on 13. At 7, David Attenborough's vivid view of our northern forest's spectacular wildlife. Then from woods to water at 8, when nature reveals the amazing undersea world of the Palau Islands in the Pacific. And at 9, a new man stirs Sarah's interest and Merrick's malice.
I only wanted to find out how easy it would be to force you to act against your better judgment.
That's Sunday on 13.
The 13 presentation of Agronsky and Company is made possible by an underwriting grant from Sims Clothing Incorporated.
A capital concern this week. What should be the President's role in commemorating the 40th anniversary of the end of the Second World War? That's the last word. Thank you, gentlemen.
The 13 presentation of Agronsky and Company was made possible by an underwriting grant from Sims Clothing Incorporated. TV tech in the courtroom and a high-tech wanderer on a solar-powered bike. Two of the topics in New Tech Times next at 2, after this note from last week's reporting on the MacNeil Lehrer Newshour.
The following report was broadcast recently on the MacNeil Lehrer Newshour.
Down these mean streets of Harlem, a quiet little miracle is going on, all day and all night, every day of the week. It's going on inside of this tidy 5-story brownstone known as Hale House.
Hi there. How are you? Hi, Newark. How are you?
It is named for the miracle worker who lives here, 79-year-old Clara Hale. Every day for the past 11 years, Clara Hale has been the moving spirit behind the work that goes on here, the caring, feeding, and nursing back to health babies who were already drug addicts when they were born. Babies like Raphael Frazier, 16 months old. His mother was addicted to heroin and cocaine during her pregnancy. 2 weeks after Raphael was born, she brought him to the woman known throughout the community as Mama Hale.
And the doctor didn't really think he would live because he was, going through the, from the drug, the mother's a drug addict, and he had it very bad. And I worked on him because I keep them upstairs in my room until they're 4 months. And I worked on him and brought him out. Now the doctor doesn't believe he's the same baby. He can't understand it because he's only 14 months and he's a big man. Here.
Clara Hale, the mother of 3 children, has always taken care of children. After her husband died, she supplemented her income by taking in foster children. By the time she was 65 and had reared nearly 40 of them, she decided to quit.
There's enough for me to go around to all of you. Don't fight.
But Lorraine Hale, her daughter, wouldn't let her quit.
I was leaving my mother's apartment on West 146th Street, and I was at the corner waiting for the lights to change. I was driving, and I saw a woman sitting on a box, and she was nodding. And I watched her and was rather fascinated because she had a baby. So I watched and got out of the car, went over to her and said, look, you're in a lot of trouble. You need someone to help you with this baby. My mother takes care of children. She lives down the street. Take the baby to her.
I think all the addicts in New York sent their kids to our house.
How did you know what to do with these addicted babies?
I didn't. I just sort of prayed about it. I didn't know what to do, but I fed them. There's nothing special you can do. I knew one thing, if it was addicted, I knew that it was addicted baby, that I wasn't to give it any drugs or any medicine, so then it would be crying for that later on. So I never gave it anything, nothing. And I'd walk the floor and I'd talk to it and I'd feed it. That's all. And I kept it dried and clean, give it a bath every night. So finally they turned out just like other babies. And I had reared so many babies until a baby's a baby, that's all.
Since 1969, close to 500 addicted babies have been cared for at Hale House, sent by city agencies, police, hospitals. The children are accepted up to 3 years old, and their parents must agree to enroll in a drug or alcohol rehabilitation program. Hale House gets some government funds as well as private donations. A staff of 7 is headed by Mrs. Hale's daughter, Lorraine, who has her Ph.D. in child development.
My mother has a philosophy of child care and child rearing, which she believes works, and which certainly has worked for her. The philosophy is a lot of love, a lot of love, a great deal of respect for the child as a person, and the sense of responsibility that the child needs to have in growing up, that the child must know that he's responsible for himself as opposed to the environment causing you whatever problems you may find that you have. And it works quite well.
Thank you for the world so sweet. Thank you for the food we eat. Thank you for the birds that sing. Thank you, God, for everything. Amen.
The proceeding was broadcast recently on the MacNeil Lehrer Newshour, public television's nightly report of news and analysis.
In the next episode of The Living Planet, take a journey through the northern forests with David Attenborough. Traveling from the edge of the Arctic to the tropics, our host observes wildlife in both its waking and sleeping states.
In these American woodlands, there is one spectacular sleeper who dozes for months on end. Just look at this. A black bear.
By the time the bear awakens, other life is renewing itself after the long winter. The forest unfolds its beauty, plunging into a frenzy of activity until autumn, when the seasonal cycle is complete. Join David Attenborough as he witnesses the highlights of the 4 seasons in the northern forests, next time on The Living Planet.
A portrait of the mother of us all tonight at 7.
When it comes to island paradises, Palau has it all. Sun, surf, warm breezes. But there's more than one snake at the core of this Eden. Its jungle trees bleed poisonous sap. And below the tranquil surface, its landlocked sea boils with jellyfish and deadly predators.
In the darkness of the deep, Medusa, daughter of the ancient sea gods, queen of jellyfish, swims through an abyss of danger. Her fate, to fall into the deadly embrace of a sea anemone. Caught in the snaky locks, she succumbs to its smothering hold. In one gargantuan swallow, she vanishes.
The Lost World of the Medusa, next time on Nature.
Tropic Oddities, tonight at 8.
The Wall Street stock indices have been going through the roof, and everybody wants to get in on the action. Can you still catch the bull market on the way up? You might if you set your sights a little further afield, from Hong Kong to London, from Tokyo to Madrid. There's money to be made if you make the world your oyster. We'll be talking with some world portfolio managers this week on Adam Smith's Money World.
That's right after Masterpiece Theater, tonight on 13.
The industrial age of the past is rapidly becoming the fast-paced, high-tech information age of the future. Some of us will benefit and some will get lost. All of us will feel the swift currents of change. I'm Marty Goldenson, and we'll be looking at how people respond to change every week on Currents.
Is the American dream of universal equality for whites only? Currents looks at the new face of American racism, tonight at 10:30. Join us.
The Sunday night comedy hour is back. At 11, the full circus. At 11:30, the faulty hour. At midnight, go to sleep. You're too late. We've signed off. Call back in a week.
The New Tech Times, a video magazine for the electronic age. In this edition, technology goes to court as attorneys add visual dimension to courtroom drama with legal videos. Also, high-tech nomad Steve Roberts bikes across America, weaving his tales of travel with a portable computer. Later, Stephen Banker introduces us to the Technoklutz. All this and more in this edition of the New Tech Times.
The New Tech Times is brought to you through a grant from Warsaw Insurance Companies. Times change.
We're in on what is virtually a revolution in scientific ideas and scientific development. We wake up every morning looking for what's going to happen next.
It's a revolution to overpower the world's devastating parasitic diseases. Diseases which blind, cripple, weaken, and kill. 1 million African children will die this year from malaria, but their prospects may soon be dramatically transformed.
I think the progress that has been made in the past 5 years towards making a malaria vaccine far exceeds the progress that has been made in the preceding 50 years.
But will the scientific progress against malaria and the other parasitic diseases reach the people who suffer? When can we expect man's ultimate conquest of the parasites?
Major funding for NOVA is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide. Additional funding was provided by the Johnson & Johnson family of companies, supplying healthcare products worldwide. And Allied Corporation, a world leader in advanced technology products for the aerospace, automotive, chemicals, and electronics industries. For a transcript of this program, send $4 to Nova, Box 322, Boston, Massachusetts, 02134. Please be sure to include the show title. Major funding for Nova is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide. Additional funding was provided by Allied Corporation, a world leader in advanced technology products for the aerospace, automotive, chemicals, and electronics industries. And the Johnson & Johnson family of companies, supplying healthcare products worldwide. A companion book, Nova, Adventures in Science, published by WGBH and the Addison Wesley Publishing Company, is available in libraries and bookstores nationwide.
Quest for the Killers premieres next.
And you also
must be content to eat any plant they can find. The grizzly bear sleeps, snug and warm, with the insulating fat layer it put on last fall. The rosy finch nibbles at dried seeds, and the mountain lion roams the foothills, looking for food and water. The ptarmigan has ingenious adaptations that help it through the season. It can survive on limited food, as it is here, eating willow buds. Its color changes to white and allows it to blend in with the snow and to escape detection by a predator. For better footing on the unpacked snow, the ptarmigan grows long feathers on its toes. With these winter adaptations, it's little wonder that these beautiful snowbirds look so calm. Sharing some of their adaptations is the snowshoe hare, turning white in winter, and as its name implies, having large snowshoe feet. Man also uses this modification to distribute his weight evenly and walk more easily on uncrusted snow. If it is detected by a predator, escape is easy. Winter rations for the snowshoe are pine needles. Unlike rabbits and hares elsewhere, which prefer more tender and succulent food, the snowshoe can easily live on this Spartan diet.
And all new tonight on 13. At 8:30, the robot workforce takes over. But what about us? Future shock on innovation. At 9, Mexican Americans and the fight to be counted. Yo soy, I am. At 10, the killer, hepatitis B. At risk, millions throughout the third world. And gay men. The story, how gay men in New York helped develop the vaccine. And at 11, our recognition of the labor movement continues with the Wilmar 8. That's an all new tonight on 13. Why wait?
Good evening. These are the day's top headlines. Congress began efforts to meet mounting concern about the trade imbalance. The West German spy scandal reached the office of Chancellor Helmut Kohl. The French defense minister was implicated in the Greenpeace sinking. Details of these stories coming up. Jim?
After the news summary, we focus on the Japanese trade story with 3 U.S. business leaders with 3 different views of the problem. Then there's part 2 of our series on the Philippines. The subject tonight is the anti-government guerrilla movement. And finally, a report from New Orleans on the trial of Louisiana Governor Edwin Edwards.
Funding for the MacNeil News Hour is provided by AT&T. Whether it's telephones, information systems, long-distance services, or computers, AT&T. Funding is also provided by this station and other public television stations. and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
The American argument over what to do about Japan arrived at the House of Representatives today in a big way.
Jim?
Good night, Robin. We'll see you tomorrow night. I'm Jim Lehrer. Thank you and good night.
Funding for the MacNeil-era NewsHour is provided by AT&T. Whether it's telephones, information systems, long-distance services, or computers, AT&T. Funding is also provided by this station and other public television stations. And the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
For a transcript, send $2 to Box 345, New York, New York, 10101.
The President's press conference at midnight tonight.
And all new tonight on 13. At 8:30, the robot workforce takes over. But what about us? Future shock on innovation. At 9, Mexican Americans and the fight to be counted. Yo soy, I am. At 10, the killer, hepatitis B. At risk, millions throughout the third world. And gay men. The story, how gay men in New York helped develop the vaccine. And at 11, our recognition of the labor movement continues with the Wilmar 8. That's an all new tonight on 13. Why wait?
SCTV takes aim at hippie culture heroes from Hugh Hefner to the Maharishi after the President tonight.
Why do I have to be capped? Everyone's capped when they come of age.
They all belong to the tripods.
You will be capped tomorrow. The tripod is here.
They're everywhere.
The tripods are coming, and if you're over 15, they're coming for you.
Never! I'll never be capped, never!
The boys get to friends, and the tripods get them tomorrow at 8:30.
Public relations, a 20th century science whose purpose is to influence popular opinion. Bill Moyers profiles Ivy Lee, who transformed the image of John D. Rockefeller from robber baron to public benefactor, and talks with the father of public relations, Edward L. Bernays. The Image Makers, on a walk through the 20th century with Bill Moyers.
Massaging the Media, Thursday night at 9.
All new Friday on 13. At 10:30, they turned stone into gargoyles, but filmmakers turned them into this year's Oscar-winning Best Documentary Short Subject, The Stone Carvers. At 11, the critics. Jeffrey Lyons and Michael Medved sneak preview Streep and Sting in Plenty and Plenty More. And at 11:30, the feature. And it's sexy fun with Laura Antonelli in Till Marriage Do Us Part. That's an all-new Friday on 13. Why wait?
A rebroadcast of President Reagan's press conference tonight at midnight here on 13.
Major funding for innovation was provided by grants from the Johnson & Johnson family of companies, supplying healthcare products worldwide, and by several Mitsubishi companies, including Mitsubishi Electric America, from microchips to giant screen TVs, a commitment to excellence. Additional support came from Sandoz Incorporated, bringing research to life, and from the AT&T Foundation.
It may not look like much is going on in this room, but this equipment is hard at work making electric circuit diagrams. Once fed the necessary data, it does all the calculating and designing without human input. And in 1 month's time, 7,000 drawings are completed.
At the turn of the century, manufacturing began to replace agriculture as the way most people in the U.S. made a living. For Innovation, I'm Jim Hartz.
This edition of Innovation will be rebroadcast Sunday afternoon at 4. Stay with us for a profile of America's Hispanic people, Yo Soy, next.
Major funding for innovation was provided by grants from the Johnson & Johnson family of companies, supplying healthcare products worldwide, and by several Mitsubishi companies, including Mitsubishi Electric America, from microchips to giant screen TVs, a commitment to excellence. Additional support came from Sandoz Incorporated, bringing research to life, and from the AT&T Foundation. For a transcript of this program, send $3 to Innovation, WNET 13, Gateway 1, Newark, New Jersey, 07102. Make checks payable to the Education...